Hey y'all, it's hi y'all. It's Vanessa Love, and this is my channel about the mental health field and related topics. If it looks a little bit different today, it's because I'm in Connecticut instead of my New York office. Anyway, all right. So I wanted to talk about Dr. Youn and what's going on with him. So Dr. Youn is a plastic surgeon and a social media content creator. So this normally is fine. But if you're new here, I have a character who's an alarmist, who is I have it's a character. She's named Pamela or Pam, she is just an alarmist boomer, whiny grandma who has terrible boundaries, but like also doesn't want anyone else to have terrible boundaries. She's been in this field long enough that everyone has lost their license at some point, and I'm sure probably her too. At some point, I'm sure that she made some joke or something and got reported. She's an alarmist. She talks about like how you could lose your license in any way that you could, and things that you think that you should be able to do as a person. It's not. It's not for her. I also have there's going to be, I think, a couple of new skits with her because there's some stuff I remember that I'm like, oh, yes, there was that thing that happened that seems like that would be wrong. Anyway, so, all right. So the alarmist, right? I don't want to be this person. I don't want to be like Dr. Yin might lose his license, not because of a colleague reporting him, not because of a patient reporting him, but because he created content and someone was offended by that. And so because of that, he got reported for an ethical code of conduct violation to his board, and he has to go and they have to do an investigation. So because I've had too many fucking Pamelas in my life, and sometimes they're assholes and they still watch my channel, even though I know one of them is very, very blocked. So she had to hopefully, I would love if she created another fucking YouTube channel for her to watch because she would inevitably have to log out of YouTube in order to watch mine, like my videos. So like hopefully if she does want to, monitor everyone who she has had a problem with, she is sorry, it's hilarious. She is either logging out or she's or she created another one that's like not related to the other one, so like she can be on mine or whatever. So fun. The internet, so fun. I don't do things, and like I know that there's been some topics that I've talked to my friends about, like, hey, and I'll go over those. I think it's important to talk about that and like why I don't say these things, because like maybe that is a learning experience. But like, yeah, there's things that I don't talk about because it does give a certain image, and you can't once you can light that light, so like it's not always fair. um so Dr. Yun had created, for me this is advocacy. He created a video, and it was using the Sharkeisha uh, soundbite. The Sharkeisha soundbite is usually used for those short videos where someone feels justified for slapping someone else. That's all of the Sharkeisha like soundbite. So in his content, and see, like, if he was just a content creator, it'd be so funny. That would be hilarious, But because he's also a doctor and has been through medical school, and then all of the experience that he has with plastic surgery, uh, like and all of his career, right? He has, you know, he he is he has a lot of people that I think have had very similar um like situations. And so he's like, listen, I'm just going to be an advocate for my clients, my patients. That's great. So he noticed that, and he has done several videos about this, about like, stupid men coming in and being like, my girlfriend or my wife don't, their butt's not big enough, their boobs aren't big enough. You could have sculpted their, uh, their stomach better. All of these things that he's just like, no. Like, so the Sharkeisha one was someone's boyfriend was saying like, oh, hey, he didn't sculpt their body enough for me. And he pretended to slap the boyfriend, who was not a patient, and sit there feeling justified. The report that was given was that this is misandry and promotes violence against men. And it's kind of like, I get where you're coming from, but also that's not it. That's an advocacy for your patient. That I don't know how else to describe that to you. Like, we are going to be on this on different sides of this, and I think that it is very reasonable to think as a medical professional that if his ethical committee is filled with white men boomers who don't understand content creation, he is going to lose his license. There's nothing about that but luckily most of the boards where they are doing these investigations, where they are talking about these things, they are volunteers. So these are people who have time to do this. I don't know what type of, I don't know at what level you have the time as a doctor to do this other stuff. So yes. And I'm like, I mean, it very well could be paid. I don't it's one of those things where I'm like, I'd just rather not know. But I know my ethics. I know what the laws are in Connecticut. The ethics and the laws are the same because because if you get something written up about you, or you get a complaint for your license, they will look at your ethics to make the determination as to whether or not you broke your ethics. Other places, South Carolina, Pennsylvania, and I think one other one, have different ethical obligation or legal obligations than what your ethics are. So, and then there's a whole bunch of other stuff. You always have to keep that in your head. It's very fun. So if his board is not boomers, people who actually understand social media content creation, if it's someone who understands that, this is a funny thing that you do on the internet, you create that, I mean, they also, the therapy field also has one, just letting you know. I don't know who created it. But it's sorry, it is funny, it's about you imagine that you can meet the person who has been making your client miserable and you just slap them. And this is, not a gendered thing at all, but man, I'm yeah, sometimes, you think about it I wonder if I'm ever going to meet that person in real life and just be like, I probably would just slap the shit out of them, wouldn't I? It's never going to happen because it's just never going to happen. But again, I don't make content like that because I know that the dipshits who come in and be like, Vanessa, you didn't really, those people, they do watch my content. I probably would get an email that's like, I saw your content. it's just bound to happen. Ugh, but like also, coming from the right person, if it was someone from Connecticut, if it was like someone who was my age, if it was someone who like had a similar experience in Connecticut and they were like, hey, just letting you know, this is something that happened to me. I don't want it to happen to you. Take that fucking shit down. I would respect that. But I'm very, very cautious about any of that stuff, except for like on Instagram, because like I think I shared the, you finally see the person who's making your client miserable and you slap the crap out of them, like, and then you sit down and feel fucking justified, like that's fun. So yeah, like I do share that stuff. I don't create that content because I know leading it back to me could put my license in danger, because that's fun. I mean, for better or worse, you really have to be a shit therapist in order to lose your license. So this would probably be dismissed, but still has to be considered and investigated. Yeah. When I first heard that Dr. Youn might lose his license, I was thinking of leaving YouTube, because I'm like, I'm just going to follow Jenna Marbles. If it's not fun anymore, I don't want to be here. And that's that. So 2 topics that I don't talk about. And so this is going to be the longer explanation. Okay. So I'm going to say things and you are probably going to be upset. I understand. That is very rational. You have the right to your opinions. Okay. You have also the rights to create a YouTube channel and post those opinions. I'm like, I am encouraging you. I'm not stopping you. So, one of the things that I don't talk about is that I'm glad that Michael Ligg overdosed. I don't think that he was a good person. I don't think that all the attention on him was valid. I think that the person who he unalived should be recognized more, even if that person was probably going to kind of be a crap person too, kind of heading there, but you never know. People like Angel, who he unalived in the 90s, because he thought that, I mean, there was a lot to this. We only have his side of the story. How wonderful. And then a bunch of other people who are kind of like, oh yeah, there was that thing. Ugh. So disgusting. Sorry, it's just so disgusting. It's just so disgusting. He was a club kid who was mean, and some of the contributing factors is that Angel sold him illegal things. And I think, or maybe I heard along the way that like Michael Ligg was doing a lot of illegal things, the substances, and he got paranoid and then killed Angel. There's been documentaries, there's been movies, there's memoirs. It's not like the person who wrote the memoir isn't that great either. So let's not pretend like that's a thing. So he went away finally for murder, for unaliving someone. He got out because it had been 20 years. He made some YouTube appearances and he overdosed. And I don't think it's wrong. Why I don't say that, and why I don't, like, it's a complicated thing, I work with severe traumatized people. This is like my my jam, my bread and butter. It is absolutely where I do well. So I don't usually work with people who are recently sober. Um, the reality of that is that many therapists don't work with people who are recently sober because they might be court ordered. They're not coming. They're not invested. They don't care. It is very difficult for them because of their trauma and because then more trauma because of their substance use, and then they end up running, escapism, right? Running away from therapy after like 3 sessions because it's not for them. I know one of my former clients went to like so many other therapists, like canceled with me, saw another therapist, canceled with that person, probably saw a couple more therapists, saw another therapist in the same building that I was in. It was like just this person trying to, I think, almost be told that their addiction was okay. Like it's like they wanted to get help, but they didn't want to get help. They wanted to, have someone be like, wow, you're so, stupid for doing drugs. And then have someone also be like, hey, it's totally fine to do that. Like it's the duality of that. I work with people who have trauma and long-term sobriety. Totally fine. Definitely understand, can encourage that. But it's just not something that I seek out. It's not something that I feel very adept in helping people with. And I don't want to. So people will find that very hard because they'll be like, but you should want to help people. You should want to go out. You should want to, you should. And I'm like, well, listen, in Connecticut, you can get a specific license, the licensed drug and alcohol counselor, and you can look up the LDACs. That is fine. Go find that person who will help you. I'm not going to be it, but I think especially people who are not addicts will find that atrocious. And it's like, well, you're not. Like, I think people who are in the community, unfortunately, of people who have some substance use, kind of understand because they see it. But then also they don't like an imperfect authority figure. And I lean into my imperfection. So I don't say the right things sometimes. I know that. But like, that's a discussion, I don't do the right thing sometimes. That's a discussion, like, oops, accidentally call someone twice in one day. I'm sure like there is some person who is like, get the fuck away from me, instead of being like, hey, I really only need like a text, like but some people can't, like, just aren't there, and again, like, if like sometimes there is that like piece of perfection, and like people just don't want to have someone who is not perfect. Also, I think that people would assume that like I'm like against people using substances or something. I don't know, like, but there's so many ways that could be misinterpreted that it's just kind of like, okay, just don't say it. The other one is that I don't treat people who have corn addiction. That's not something, but I have worked with a lot of people who, and especially women, who just don't really have I believe in that there's like many selves to you. So like there's your work self, and, for me, it's like the daughter self, and, the friend self, and the best friend self, and the wife self, and the therapist self. These are all different types of selves within me, people, you have a home self, you have things that like make you comfortable, all of this stuff. some women just don't have that connection to their sexual self. And in order to like encourage people to have a better connection to their sexual self, um, I have encouraged people to masturbate. I have encouraged people to watch porn. And that is difficult for a lot of people, because of a lot of societal messages. And I know that saying those things out loud will get people to think I don't know, like not seeing that people can have addictions to that, or people can, or like women are harmed in doing porn. I'm not oblivious to it. It's just that like there's a lot of other stuff going on, especially within the corn community. Um, it's very, very interesting sometimes because I'm like, oh, actually, like, some women are not exploited or on drugs to be in the corn industry anymore because they can like make it in a way that feels comfortable for them. And like they can make, homemade stuff, you know. And like also if it doesn't ring true for you, it doesn't ring true for you. That's it. Can corn be a healthy part of, a long-term relationship? Absolutely. There's plenty of ways to have like a connection to, an individual sexual self as well as like a partnered sexual self, and like including corn in that is could be a good thing. That's a discussion in therapy, you know. If it's not a good thing, then that's a discussion in therapy. But like, I think that also people would worry that sorry, that my sorry, just people jump to so many conclusions and it's like okay. Um they would worry about my underage my child clients, because I think that they would think that I would encourage people to do that, and I'm like, oh god, no. Okay. One story about that is that I've had many clients who've told me that before the age of 18 they have watched porn. Okay, discussion. But also I have had clients who were like in their late teens, so let's say 17 for just ease sake. So they were 17. They had told me I had gotten curious. I looked online and I was like, okay, like, how are you feeling? What's going on? And I was like, you really, like, I understand that you're curious, but you really cannot participate in this until you're like 18. Like, that I don't like that you went on these sites. I don't like. And then what they heard was, it's okay that you did that. Not what I said. Not what I said. I mean, as hopefully I said before, is like curiosity is okay, but like it's not really the best for that. And to have them come back the next week and be like, oh, but you said it was okay. Like, and that was confusing for me. And I'm like, I said that it can be normal for people to be curious, you know? And um, I don't think that people like, I mean, preferably it wouldn't need to exist, but that's never happening. So, like in lieu of the corn industry existing, it should be discussed more often. Like, what is an appropriate amount? What's a healthy amount? Like, how can people who've had those societal things about like, it objectifies women and, all of these things, like how can we, but then also the shame of the sex workers, so fun. Like how can we, what do you need to, the whole thing? And I'm like, I can't even do a whole video about that because I'm sure if I do a whole video about like, okay, once you are 18, you can possibly partake in this in an appropriate and healthy manner. Oh my God, can you imagine how many people would come after me? Like, Jesus, they'd be like, "You are not acknowledging the existence of the addiction." Absolutely. Like, but that's also, we have to discuss what healthy and appropriate amount would be, and like I'm really glad that a lot of places, like a lot of channels, do have like the Adam and Eve sponsorship. And then I think that there's another one that they're like kind of going for as of late, and talking about it and being like, hey, so like you can actually have pleasure, it's okay, you can also do it yourself, and like what that encouragement can mean to some people, but also having the healthy discussion about it. But again, you know people can have a lot of misconceptions, and especially if like I'm like, well, I have read a sex therapy book. It was just really about physical aspects. It wasn't about anything emotional, which kind of like upset me, because like wouldn't people be coming to, like, it must have been an old book or something, because like wouldn't like people be coming to counseling for not the physical things. And I also don't work with sex addiction anymore, because it just, again, people feel like it's an invite to something that is definitely not an invite to something. As a professional, like, that is not it. It's not it. I do not work with that. Just putting that out there. It is one of those things where it's like traumatized people might have lost that part of themselves, and so kind of trying to reconnect them in a way that is healthy and okay for them to do, and safe for them to do, okay, when they are of age. And again, it's one of those things where I'm like, oh my God, people could take that out of context and be like, see, she's encouraging. No, I'm not encouraging people. I'm encouraging people to talk about things, and especially going to a therapist and talking about things. Like, these are topics that you can definitely bring up to your therapist. Like, and if your therapist doesn't feel comfortable with that, there are the oh gosh, what is that? There, I think there's a website. There is a website. Sorry, there's not. I think there is a website for finding a counselor who's certified in sex therapy, so that you can find that therapist. And then, of course, like, if you feel that you have a porn addiction or whatever, like, finding a therapist that does acknowledge that that exists, and has a framework that you are comfortable with. Because some people want like a Christian framework for their addiction in general. If that's not you, there might be other like frameworks that you're more comfortable with. Look for the people who you would be comfortable with, you know. So yes, there are options for people. It's not me, but like, there are options for people. But like, I think having to have so many caveats for like a subject, especially when it's like, I just want to encourage people to like just be better, for themselves, just heal. Like, it just becomes so complicated and nuanced in a world that does not care about that. Like, oh, you support this, fuck yourself, and it's like, oh my God, okay, all right, but like, no. So anyway, I think that if there ever is a time that I am done, I probably will, oh my God, like, just start really going after, like, I probably would do a Sharkeisha, like, video, just be like, when you just need to slap some sense into your client or something, like BS. But like, yeah, I like, it is so possible for Dr. Yin to lose his license over someone from the internet. And people, jump to conclusions about that stuff. Oh, that person's just living in their basement and they're just jealous. I'm like, it doesn't matter. That could be a professor somewhere. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who said it. It matters that it was done, and that, like, someone who has had their license for all of this time could lose it, not because of something that they did professionally, something that they partook in outside of their profession that was about their profession. Social media content, yay. But also, I'm going to encourage every, business out there to create a social media plan for each level of their employees, because like if you don't want this and you don't want this and you don't want this, you need to write that down specifically so that people understand how they should be interacting with social media outside or even inside your place of work. Anyway, I mean, I hope that was helpful for you. I have no idea. I guess I'll read the comments and weed out the ones, keep the flowers, get the weeds out. Um, yeah, it's gonna be, isn't it? All right. Well, I will talk with you soon, and I hope you have a great day. Also, thank you for liking and subscribing and sharing these videos. It does mean a lot to me. All right, thanks. Bye.